Join us today for an action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, where we're talking about must-draft hitters from rounds 6 through 11.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Anay, and you can find him on Twitter at Matthew_Anay. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. I'm so sorry, folks. Forgive me for that one. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit the little bell below and subscribe to the channel and gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, join us on the Subtext platform. Guys, if you're just getting back from fantasy football and you're looking for some rankings or you need some help with your keepers, Subtext is the place to be, guys. We have that plus so much more. We're putting tiers into our rankings. We're going to have bounce back, sleepers, detailed lists. We're going to make sure you guys are in the know on everything that you need to know on Subtext, so check it out. And guys, real quick before we get into things, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started today.
KLP.
So, Matt, why don't you take it away? And I'm over here dying laughing. Me and Matt have a little inside joke going on. You know what? And if you're on Subtext, you might get to hear about that too. So make sure you join us on Subtext. But Matt, take it away.
All right, KLP here. Let's go. So before we go in, again, if you haven't been following this saga of what we've been doing, welcome to the show if you're new. And essentially what we're doing is we're going through, a block of rounds and going through the players, where they're going on ADP, and pretty much who we think that we're going to target in these rounds based off of both hitting and pitching. So please see the other episodes if you haven't tuned in. They've been great. And honestly, I feel like it's a good exercise. We're going to do this every month and probably twice in the month of March, just so like we can give everybody kind of like a standing of what's going on. But yeah, so let's get into it. Let's hop in. We got a good one for the first one, and that's Nico Hoerner. Nico Hoerner had a great season last year. I have him as my number 5 second baseman going into this year. Sorry, I'm running out of breath here from too much laughing. But anyway, Nico Hoerner had a good season, right? 619 at-bats, 98 runs, 27 doubles, 4 triples, 9 bombs, 68 ribs, 43 stolen bases, 49 walks to 83 strikeouts, and batting .283. Right off the bat, you look at that, okay, like there's nothing crazy that's like blowing you out of the way except for blowing you out of the water except for stolen bases. Runs are pretty significant, but he's a stolen base specialist that's going to contribute in, runs. What do you call it? Sorry, a brain fart. Stolen bases and batting average and chipping some ribbies and whatnot. But also, too, just to like point it out, he's also really valuable for points leagues because that walk to strikeout ratio, the doubles capability, and the fact that he posted up 4 triples. Like it's another little like bing. I like Nico Hoerner for both, Roto 5x5 category head to head and also points. He's pretty valuable overall. He won't kill you, and we have bonus in points leagues. On top of that, Nico Hoerner, I think, is, a great value at pick 61 for second base. You're not really paying up the higher prices of guys like, hold on here, who I got higher than Galby, Mookie Betts, Simeon Altuve. Like you're not really paying up for those guys. You're able to kind of get the guy right in the lower tier, obviously, but at the same time, you're getting somebody that's seriously going to contribute to your season week in and week out and put you above the competition in stolen bases specifically.
Matt, honestly, I don't think I could have done the take better myself. I have Nico Horner as my 5th second baseman as well. I don't think anything else needs to be said there because we're pretty much in the same route of thinking when it comes to Nico Horner. So well done, sir. Let's move on to this next guy. I want to talk about Matt McLain. Matt McLain, wasn't somebody who came out of nowhere, but kind of came out of nowhere. He did have some prospect pedigree, but we did not. I don't really think many people expected him to come up and perform as well as he did. McLain played 89 games, had 365 at-bats. He had 65 runs, 23 doubles, 16 homers, 50 RBIs, 14 steals, and a 290 batting average. I really like Matt McLain. I have him right behind Nico Horner at second base as my 6th second baseman off the board. I think that Reds team is only getting better. It's a great park to hit in for the young Matt McLain. I think he's going to have a good spot in that lineup. Kid right in the prime of his career, age 24. He's super fast. He hits the ball fairly hard. Needs to work on the strikeouts, needs to learn how to walk a little bit better. But in today's modern day and age, you could say that about, some of the best players in the game. But I think, dual threat, I think there's more speed than power, but, he's shown to have home run upside too. So, I think it's pick 62. I like Horner and McLain here. I think they're both great for fantasy. Both must drafts in my opinion.
Yeah. You know what, dude? Like out of the two, I like McLain more and more. It's just Nico Horner's a little bit more of a safe pick, essentially.
Yeah.
Like he's done it for the last couple of years, whereas McLain, he kind of worked his way through the air ducts to, to make his way here. But, I think this year could be a serious breakout. That whole team is just, something serious to be, feared of. And McLain could, seriously benefit from everything around him. But, it's a wait and see game. I want to rank him higher. I just can't bring myself to do it just based off of the little prep time I had. And, his 2023 minor league season was good, but not enough to say, okay, I could see a path where he's super, super, efficient like he was last year. So it's more of a let's see what happens type deal. But I think Dom, did you say where you had McLain?
I have McLain at 6 at second base.
Okay. I am a little bit farther off on that. I believe I have McLain. Somebody's got to update their rankings here. I don't have it in front of me. But anyway, I have him pretty decent at as well. I think like in my top 12. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about Mike Trout. Mike Trout, we talk about a lot about him. So, I mean, honestly, I'm going to keep it, a little bit shorter than I normally would because obviously everybody knows who Mike Trout is. If he stays healthy, he's one of the best bats in baseball. The reason why we're talking about him on the show is he's going at pick 69. Not just a great, number, but also a great player. And, I feel like this is a serious value. Now, I don't have to go and pay up for the production that he can give me now. Like last year, he still played 82 games. He had 308 at bats. He had 54 runs, 14 doubles, a triple, 18 bombs, 44 ribs, 2 stolen bases, and had a 263 batting average. Honestly, I'll take that. Like 69, pick 69 versus Aaron Judge, who will get you 10 more home runs. Don't get me wrong, and bat a little bit better in average, but might play the same amount of time, just depending on how flimsy he feels like being, and I don't have to pay a first-round pick for him. Mike Trout used to be a former first-round pick and probably the number 1 pick overall.
Yeah, I was saying former number 1 overall pick for like almost 10 years straight.
Exactly. And for me to be able to go and scoop him up, and it's not like, father time is really there. The dude's only 31. He's just been having some issues with his back, his shoulder, the this, the that. Honestly, the dude stays healthy. He's probably going to be the most valuable pick in all of the draft. So, you look at it and you go, well, pick 69. I'm going to take that shot at pick 69.
Yeah, Matt, real quick, before I hop in here and I talk about Mike Trout and we move on to some other, must draft hitters in, the middle rounds of your drafts, Matt is going to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, But there's still time to get in the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150, win or lose. How you doing? The app is super easy to use, and there's so many different options that you can bet with, like live same-game parlays. Also, you can find bets if you're not sure what to bet with the new Explore tab. And you can make those parlays in Parlay Hub and find out what the most popular ones are out there. So go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make your first bet a touchdown. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Whew. Also, guys, want to talk to you about our sub text. Now, not only can you win your leagues by joining our subtext and joining the Diamond Club, but if you do right now sign up, you can also get an entry into the Listener League. If you do this, if you sign up, you have an opportunity to get a chance to be in the Listener League. Sign up. We're going to do it in about a month, release it. So literally February 9th, right after my son is born, we will be announcing this. And all you got to do is simply sign up for subtext. And we'll not only provide you with our rankings for all the offseason, but you will also have an opportunity to be in the Listeners League. And you're going to want to get in there. Also, too, if you don't want to sign up for the subtext, leave us a review and just shoot us a DM anywhere on, Instagram or Twitter, and that'll count as well. So, Dom.
Yeah. So let's hop back in here. Let's get into it, Matt. Very well done there. Guys, make sure you're joining us on subtext if you want that leg up on your competition heading into the next season. But Mike Trout. Let me give a quick little take on him. As Matt said, guy we've talked about a lot. You know who Mike Trout is at this point. If you're new to, unless you're new to fantasy baseball, if you're new to fantasy baseball, Mike Trout been one of the best players in the game for a very, very long time. And even if Mike Trout just does what he did in 2022 with 85 runs, 40 homers, 80 RBIs, and a 283 batting average, at pick 69, that's paying off for you as your outfielder number 2. That's excellent production, and I think that's it. I think Mike Trout, if he gets to that 140 games, it's 40 plus homers. I think the RBIs are up over 100. The batting average anywhere from 280 to 300 is very reasonable for a guy like Mike Trout. And I have Mike Trout as my 13th outfielder, 17th outfielder off the board. You're making money there. Let's move on to this next guy, though. Let's talk about somebody who, I think more people need to familiarize themselves. Let's talk about Josh Lowe. Matt and I are both, very big on him. I have Josh Lowe as my outfielder 19 at the moment. He's coming off the board as the outfielder 19. So ADP is right in sync with me. Once again, a guy who, actually broke out last year in a strong way. We have been waiting on it from Lowe for a few years. Rays finally, unleashed him. The Rays will Ray, where they like to baby some guys. Bear with me here real quick. Josh Lowe, he once again, another guy needs to work on that swing and miss, but he's super fast. He hits the ball fairly hard, barrels it up very well. Really like what I saw from him last year. Good speed power combo, and a guy I think you could take as your outfielder too. Age 25. I think we're gonna see a 2020 season from Josh Lowe with a solid batting average, and I think the runs and RBIs have potential to be very good too. So you're talking about a guy who could potentially contribute in all 5 categories. As your outfielder too. I think it's a little bit risky when you can get, a guy like Mike Trout around here. You might want to lean that way, but sometimes you really have to, take a chance on upside with a guy like Lowe who already went 20-30 last year. I think it's worth a shot. I think Josh Lowe might even be, when we do our My Guys episode, one of my My Guys. I really love him.
Yeah, dude, you couldn't have said anything better. I completely agree with everything you have to say in terms of the Lowe situation. I love me some Josh Lowe, honestly. I'm trying to find out where I have him. I have him ranked 22 at outfield. Honestly, I'm super excited to have him on all my teams. Can't beat it. I think that this dude's got a serious career ahead of him, and we shall see. But I'm going to move on because I don't need to say anything else. Let's talk about Mr. Schwarbaum's Kyle Schwarber. last year we were getting him in the early like 30 rounds, and I can understand why everybody, let him drop this year because you know what? He's not the most helpful player in certain categories, like batting average, hitting under 200 last year, but in everything else, he's pretty valuable. So like I can't understand why the ADP is so low. So I feel like this is a super value. Um, you know, we draft stolen base specialists where guys only contribute in about three categories. Kyle Schwarber contributes in three as well, just three hard to come by position thing. Three categories that are more desirable, and specifically runs, power, runs, home runs, and ribbies. 585 at bats last year, 108 runs, 19 doubles, a triple, 47 home runs, 104 ribbies, and struck out 215 times. Like that's great, and at OPS 815. But like honestly, like listen, how hard is it to come by somebody that's going to be a difference maker in the home run category? Kyle Schwarber at pick 86 is somebody that you can't overlook and snuff at just because of his batting average. We used to draft Joey Gallo and what's the other one? Chris Bryant, I believe, to not Chris Bryant, the guy from the Oakland Athletics.
Chris Davis.
Yes, Chris Davis with atrocious batting average, and still just draft them for runs, home runs, and ribbies. And neither of them on a team that seriously would have put them over the limits on, runs and ribbies to boot. So Kyle Schwarber's in a perfect position to seriously bolster those three categories on such an elite level that him hurting your batting average isn't going to even matter when you're literally blowing out a team in those three categories just because of him alone. So Kyle Schwarber is a serious difference maker, and a pick 86, I feel like he's like a can't pass pick. He's going to be great for you this year.
Yeah, man, I think pretty well said there. I'm gonna say what similar to what you said. I think if you're taking Schwarber here, it is fair value, but it's about team construction. Kyle Schwarber's a guy that you pair with good batting average. If you took the Nico Horners earlier, if you took the big batting average guys earlier, but if you already took on big risk at batting average earlier in the draft, Kyle Schwarber's not going to be the guy for you. I love the power upside. My whole thing with that Philly lineup are Matt, your ear is to the ground there, and Philly better than mine is. Is he gonna keep that job at leadoff? Because
Yes.
Even though he hits for that monster power, that 197 batting average leaves a bit to be desired. And there's a guy that we're actually going to talk about a little bit later that I could potentially see taking that leadoff role from him. Maybe.
So I agree with you. That guy should be the one above him. But the way Philly approaches it, and the manager who I don't like, and I don't want to learn his name either, like Schwarber at the leadoff position, because the percentage of him hitting a home run off leadoff versus anywhere else in the lineup is much higher at leadoff. So that, and also too, when he does hit, a leadoff home run, the team goes nuts, and then they usually just build the momentum for So like Kyle Schwarber is pretty much just going to be a leadoff hitter for Phillies until the day he leaves. So like I think honestly, that is the one thing you could pretty much count on, even more than, I don't know, Edwin Diaz being a great closer. Like Kyle Schwarber will hit leadoff.
Yeah, exactly. So you're pretty much guaranteed three strong categories there from Schwarber, but in those regular roto leagues, that batting average is gonna hurt you, come the end of the year. So make sure you supplement it.
Yeah.
But real quick before we move on to these last few names, actually, I think they're all young players who have a lot of upside, and they're going for good value. We have one last quick ad for you guys. And guys, we're talking about Jace Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we just talk a minute about how we're preparing for our lives? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is getting scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than one of my loved ones or somebody important to me getting sick while we're in the middle of a supply chain issue, which could keep them from these life-saving medication that they need. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics used to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us, so visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use the offer code locked on to get $20 off your order. All right, so yeah, pretty much wrapped up with Schwarber there. We're going from pick 86 where Schwarber was, and we are moving into round 9 officially here, and we're going to talk about Josh Jung. I think that's actually getting Josh Jung after pick 100, I think is very, very good value. Really flashed a lot of upside last year, went all the way and won the World Series with that Texas Rangers team. Josh Jung last year, 122 games, 478 at bats, 75 runs, 23 homers, 70 RBIs, and he hit 266. I actually have not Kyle. Jesus, I'm still on Schwarber. I have Josh Jung at ranked 7th at third base. So, where he's going right now, I think we're going to rake in a lot of upside. I think there's 30 home runs, 100 RBI type of upside. Not really fast at all. So I don't think there's any upside for steals here, but I think the batting average could even take a step forward. He always hit for, pretty, solid, batting average in the minors, even had a couple of seasons over 300. So I think we're talking about a guy who has, I want to predict a line somewhere around 85 runs, 32 homers, 100 RBIs, and a 275 batting average. And I think it's an Austin Riley light type of situation here with Josh Jung, who you're getting 70 picks after you have to take Austin Riley. So I think the value here on Jung is actually outrageous.
Yeah, and quite honestly, too, I don't know, like if you weren't a Josh Jung owner, and you didn't have to face the team that had him, you didn't have to really worry about him all that much. But honestly, like Jung was pretty phenomenal up until he got hurt. And then he kind of took a little bit to get going. In the month of September, he batted 196, but that home run, that championship you played him, he did show out for you. And leading up to the playoffs too, he was really crushing the ball. Dude, honestly, had 2 bad months of batting average. In all honesty, April he was batting 270, May he was batting 318, July he was batting 265, and August he was batting 316. 2 months really dragged him down. I think honestly the batting average is about 270, 275 in the north. I think he seriously has it. I think this dude going to pick 101 isn't going to stick. I think by the time we get into March, mid to late March, he's going to be more like pick 85, 86. And, we're going to be having to pick, but I still think that's a fantastic value. I love Josh Jung going into this year. I have Josh Jung at my 6th third baseman. I am very bullish on him. This dude has some serious talent. And you know what? I misjudged him going into the year. I'm not going to misjudge him going into this year. Josh Jung, serious upside. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about Bryson Stott, the guy we were kind of alluding to of who we think should be leading off for the Phillies. And that's because, one, the dude just gets on base, and 2, the dude can steal bases. Like, Bryson Stott is an excellent talent, and you know what? It's a fun player, too. If you watch a Phillies game, you ever watch this kid get up to bat, everybody sings his walk-on song. It's actually hysterical. But you know what? Dude's awesome. Like 585 at bats last year, 78 runs, 32 doubles, 2 triples, 15 bombs, 62 ribs, 31 stolen bases, and batted 280 last year. Okay. Bryson Stott seriously just gets on base, steals bases, and is successful. I'm just hoping he gets a little bit put in a position where where he could either grab some ribbies or be the lead off for those block of 3 dudes. Bryson Stott is constantly being moved around because the manager is super analytical, and it drives me nuts because he also didn't even play Bryson Stott consistently last year, which led to some of his downfall. Some of his stats not really being as good as they should. So if Bryson Stott could get a consistent spot where he's a leadoff guy of those block of 3 guys, Bryson Stott is seriously going to take advantage of it and be fantasy gold next year. Going off the board at pick 105, I think is an absolute steal. Like, I have Stott going at second base as my number 9, and I feel very confident in that. I think being able to pick up your second baseman at pick 105 is a steal.
See, I'm in love with Bryson Stott. Another dude that's on his way to be one of my guys this year. And I wanted to bring up his name earlier, but I teased it. I did it the right way, but I just don't see taking Nico Horner or Matt McLean at 61 or 62 when I can get Bryson Stott 40 picks later when he very similar player. Bryson Stott, I think everything improves. I think hitting in that lineup, even if he hits where he's projected to hit at 6th, I think the RBIs could come up. I don't see why he couldn't have 85 RBIs with 80 runs. I think the home runs, he's not really a big power guy. I think 15 is the upper limits of where he could hit with home runs. So even if it's 12 to 15 home runs, and I think the speed could take a step forward. I think he could have 40 steals, and if he hits 280, 285, it's very similar production that you're getting from a Horner or a McLean 40 picks later. And I think getting, your second baseman that late, and I have Bryson Stott as my 7th second baseman off the board. So at pick 105, where, I don't know exactly what second baseman that is, but I'm sure it's, well after 7. I think you're making out like a bandit at that point. So Bryson Stott, I think, is an absolute must draft. Let's keep things pushing here, though. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Triston Casas, first baseman, Boston Red Sox. Absolutely had a breakout year last year. At age 23, Casas played 132 games, had 429 at-bats, 66 runs, 21 doubles, 24 homers, 65 RBIs. He hit 263. He had 70 walks to 126 strikeouts, so he's helping you in those points leagues as well. Casas, somebody who started off the year a little bit lower in my rankings as I was working into rankings for the season, but a guy just been slowly moving up, and I actually have Triston Casas inside of my top 10, my 10th first baseman off the board. He does everything that you want to see from a big slugging first baseman, 6'5", 244, hits the ball super hard. He knows how to take a walk. I think this is a guy that I think in 2 years from now, that's a perennial top 5 first baseman, kind of takes like that Paul Goldschmidt spot. I think it's going to be 30 plus homers, 85, 90 RBIs. That batting average could be, pretty strong. He's always hit over 300 in the, well, not always hit over 300, but, always hit like 280 in the minors. I think he could hit, 275, 280 in the bigs. Similar to like a Josh Jung, but just at first base, and, going to be 24 next year for Casas. Honestly, sky is the limit. I think this kid's going to be fantastic.
Dude, you couldn't have said anything better. I'm right there with you. In terms of Casas, I like it. I like where he's going. I like the team where he's hitting. He has all the opportunity in the world to just be, pretty much successful. And right now, I mean, why can't he do it? Let's put it that way. But I think I don't need to go into anything deeper on that. I'm just pretty much just going to roll into our next guy here because we're limited for time. We're going to talk about Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker is somebody you go in at pick 119 that I feel is a solid pick. He's like your outfielder 3, possibly 4, depending on, how you've constructed your team. And I feel it's going to be a really nice pick this year. I really see a true breakout season for him. And not saying last year wasn't, but, St. Louis decided to play little games and, let him break the roster, but then sent him down for a couple weeks because of ground ball issues and waited a month so they can keep the control and then brought him back up. Now, Jordan Walker still managed to put a decent season together. 420 at bats, 51 runs, 19 doubles, 2 triples, 16 bombs, 51 ribs, 7 stolen bases, and had 276 batting average, which is really nice for a rookie year. Quite honestly, if you've looked at his past, in 2022, my guy had 19 home runs and 22 stolen bases and batted 306. I see a strong possibility for a 30-30 season. I think there's even another tier where, we could possibly start seeing some, 30-40, or even some more power out of him. I mean, the dude's 6'6", 200 and change. Like, how don't we see more power from this dude? 245 pounds to be specific. Jordan Walker's an absolute stud, and I think a great pick at pick 119.
Yeah, Matt. Well, pretty much on board with you on everything with Jordan Walker. I have him as my 24th outfielder. Absolutely love him. Another guy I think is going to have a monster season. You said 30-30. We're on par. I think he can do 30-30 easy. With that being said, though, we're out of here for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. But guys, until next time, see you.